G'day, welcome. Here we are, what's the date today? 10th of April 2024. I am back home. I got home last night after being away for a week to deliver a retreat down in the Abel Tasman, a retreat that we do pretty much every year, or have done for the last 4 or 5 years, which went really well, which was very, very pleasing. Got lots of good feedback, even a couple of emails after the event. Private correspondence with just how life-changing the experience was for some of the participants, which is humbling and exciting. There's more to come. We are getting ready to leave in about 10 days' time, heading towards Vietnam, going through Australia first to visit my family, and then off to Vietnam to deliver our next retreat over there, and then on to Croatia, etc., etc. The year will unfold, travelling and hosting retreats. But here we are today, right here, right now. We had a full solar eclipse yesterday with the new moon at about 6 a.m. my time. It's 9 a.m. now, so 7 hours ago. We had a full solar eclipse, very powerful astrologically. Chiron was also conjunct with the sun and the moon, Chiron being the wounded healer, and there's a few other astrological things. Mercury was in retrograde, I can't remember what was going on with Venus or Jupiter or something, but doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, it has been a very powerful experience, and it continues to be. We're still very much in that window for another few days. Hey, Sister Georgie. So I'll just try and do this swipe thing so I see the comments, and I will just check here. I do have a question written in ahead of time, and I will refresh this page here so that I don't miss anything that's written as it happens. Awesome. So yes, powerful. I did a recording yesterday morning in the early hours of the morning, at about 5 a.m. actually. Just as the eclipse was starting and heading towards its intensity. I was sitting in the car, in my mother-in-law's car in her garage, so that I didn't wake up the house, doing my light language transmission in the early hours of the morning, intending to then upload it and have it out for pretty much new moon exact, which would have been 6 a.m. my time. Only to find out that I didn't have this particular cord here, which is what I need to plug in my little H1 recorder, stereo recorder. So it's got 2 microphones, very, very useful recorder for me. So I couldn't download it off that onto my computer and then upload it to share, which was a little bit disappointing, and I had to go through a little bit of my own process around that. Dear. But anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed the recording, Georgie. But anyway, it's up now. And if you haven't caught that, check your emails, check your junk box, or go to the Montara, This Bright Light Beings group, and scroll down, and there'll be a notification there, I presume. It should be. Yes, there it is. So yeah, that's been powerful. So a powerful time to heal a lot of wounds, particularly wounds from the past, and particularly deep wounds as well, with Mercury in retrograde and a few other influences. It was an awesome time to get into the deeper truth of what's going on, and to allow healing. I'll use that word again, allow healing, rather than to heal or to make healing happen, right? Because we can't do that. We allow healing to happen around those deep wounds. And as I mentioned on the recording, I'm pretty sure, it's not about expecting. See, I think a lot of people trip themselves up with this thing called healing, or even getting over the past, or healing trauma from the past, right? They're expecting there to be no trace left of the trauma, I think. And then at the first remembrance of the trauma, or feeling of doubt or fear or pain or whatever it might be, they evoke the story that they haven't healed yet, right? Because they're still feeling it, right? Because they're still aware of it. It doesn't just disappear. Something's just popped into my head. I was talking about resurrection energy couple of weeks ago at Easter, right? And this idea that when Yeshua, Jesus, resurrected, right, rose from the tomb after 3 days of being quote unquote dead, he was in an expansive form of his being, right? So he had grown, right? He had transitioned. He had healed himself and become liberated, if you like, from the human condition. However, he still had his wounds, right? He still had holes in his hands and his feet and a big scar down his side where the spear had been plunged in. That was still there, and the disciples still witnessed that, right? Could still see visibly the signs of his wounding, right? But he was beyond it. He wasn't identified with the wounds. So the point I'm making is that don't expect your wounds to disappear through the healing process, but the healing process is one by which you are no longer overly influenced by those wounds. And the scars are no longer a point of pain, but really a point of remembrance of what you have come through and really help you to feel empowered, right? So it's the same with this idea of expanding out beyond our past and beyond some deeper sort of soul wounding or deep heart wounding that many of us have carried, a lot of fear around being rejected or not appreciated, etc., right? Because we are not quote unquote normal. Many of us who hang out in this group and other groups like this, we don't consider ourselves normal, which has been a pain point because we're fearful of getting singled out and persecuted, quote unquote, again, right? Again, like we have been in other lifetimes or even earlier in this lifetime for being weird and different and non-compliant, right? Because we can't really comply with dark agendas because we are fundamentally aligned with the light. So the point being is not to expect the wounding to completely disappear, not to expect the trauma to be completely gone. Healing the past is going beyond the past, letting go of the past, the term I use quite a lot. Letting go of the past doesn't mean it's gone forever. You are letting go of the significance of the past so that you can be more confident to embrace life now. And again, I'll just reiterate, confidence is not the absence of doubt. The doubts are still there. You are just able to step beyond the doubts because you have practiced doing so. You've made attempts to step past these doubts and you have had some degree of success. Success is not yes or no. It's not you are successful or you're not successful. You don't step past it or you don't step past it, right? We all step past to some point. Sometimes the outcome is not what we want. We call it a failure. Other times the outcome is what we want, but it was still diminished from what it could have been, right? Because those doubts still influenced you to a degree that was significant enough. That doesn't mean the attempt was a failure, by the way. It just means you didn't get the result that you might have, which is still fine, right? Because life is about experiences, not about getting everything the way that you want it or think it should be. It's not about perfecting things. It's about, experiencing things, stepping up to the plate and having a go. So, don't allow yourself to think that you've failed to let something go just because you're aware it's still there, right? Don't think that you failed to heal just because you're aware the wounds are still there, right? The scars are still there. The feelings are still there. You still feel fear, but can you, if you choose to, if you make a dedicated attempt to, step past it to some degree? That's all that's required, right? That's all that's required. Rather than wanting to hang back. This is the danger, and this is the unfortunate thing in this sort of reductionist mentality of completion is people don't want to try until they're sure it's completely healed, right? Because they don't want to have a failure experience. They don't want to experience the pain again. They don't want to try and fall in love. They don't want to allow themselves to fall in love if they're not sure that all of their past heartbreaks have been quote unquote healed, because they don't want to experience the pain again. And unfortunately, it's just not realistic. The only way to heal that pain in your heart is to risk falling into love again, right? Whether it's with yourself, with life, or with another person, doesn't really matter. You know, this experience is what's required. The attempt to step beyond something is the healing process. It's not that we heal first and then we're able to do something. We must be willing to try things despite the fact that it's difficult at first, because it's in the trying to do things, it's in the choosing to do things despite the fact that we don't feel that we can, that we actually drive the process of becoming confident enough to achieve it, despite the fact we've been wounded in the past. That is basically healing, rather than expecting all of it to go away and you to have no resistance anymore, you know. And this ties into what Sister Jen Burns asked in my little notification there, where I had a picture of me taking a photo of a weka, a cheeky weka on the path in the Abel Tasman just a couple of days ago. She said, can you talk about financial freedom and any other themes alive in the collective right now? On the retreat we're doing, and on all of our retreats this year, we're using the overall theme of embrace all of life. First day we do embracing truth, which is all around developing your awareness and sort of gaining a more expansive concept of what truth is, which is really, really useful. And the second day we do embrace freedom, which is all about really, on the depths of it, accessing acceptance. That's good alliteration, isn't it? And creating a better relationship with the process of acceptance, so that we don't feel that acceptance is some sort of defeatist vibration where I'm not going to win, so I'll just accept what I can get right now, and rather find a more loving, more empowered version of acceptance. Whereas I'm not going to fight this, because I know that in the acceptance of what's showing up, I will expand beyond it, right? I will move beyond it rather than be trapped by it, rather than having... Acceptance isn't sort of settling for less. Acceptance is the understanding that I don't need to fight this because I'm not threatened by it, because I know who I am and I'm capable of achieving anything. So therefore I don't need to fight. Therefore I can accept what's showing up without making it wrong and having to launch all of this fear-based fight against it, right? Anyway, so where am I going? Freedom here. Financial freedom, all sorts of freedom, right? And again, it just comes back to this idea of freedom from wounds, which is healing or healed, right? The freedom is not that there is no longer triggers around your finances. It's not that financial freedom is not having so much money that you can do whatever you want without having to ever think about money again. That's not really financial freedom, because that is reliant on an external situation, which i.e. you having money, or some supply of money that you can intellectually rely on. Right, which is disempowered, because let's face it, none of us can ensure anything is going to keep happening in the future, least of which is a flow of money, right? Because things happen. The whole financial system could crash, right? And therefore all of your money in the bank, which you thought was giving you financial freedom, is now gone. Do you still have financial freedom? That's the point, right? Because financial freedom is really the freedom from worrying about your finances, not having enough money that you don't have to worry about your finances. Because the truth is, no one has to worry about their finances, irrespective of the dollar amount involved, because worry is not a useful vibration. I'm going to have a drink. So to achieve financial freedom, we really need to start trusting that whatever energy, whatever resources is required for us to do something that is important for us on a soul level, important for us intrinsically in our heart, will become available through the process of alignment, right? Through the process of manifestation. And when we have that trust, we tend to find ways to allow things to happen that meet our desires and our needs, right? So the more that we can, because, there's the old adage, what you chase keeps running from you. So if you're chasing love, it always seems to be in front. If you're chasing money because you think you need money in order to be happy or in order to be financially free, and then you can relax and then you can be happy or then you can be peaceful. Once you have the money, you're chasing the money now. You keep chasing it, it'll always stay in front of you. Once you stop chasing it and you just allow yourself to be financially free now, you allow yourself to relax into peace now, you allow yourself to be happy now, the money can come to you, or the resources required, because let's face it, none of us really need money. It's a pretty useless freaking thing. It's little strips of plastic or paper, depending on what country you're in, with some numbers printed on it. It's not that great it's not that great a thing, right? It's not a useful thing to have, this thing called money. Money is just a form of energy that we can exchange for what we want. So we can bypass the whole money thing, is what I'm getting at. It's not the money itself, it's what money can get us, is what we desire. A lot of people thinking that having dollars in the bank, right, these numbers on a spreadsheet, basically, because that's all it is. They don't actually have a box in the bank with your name on it and the dollars inside it. Those days are long gone. So it's just numbers on a spreadsheet, and it's really very, very etheric, this idea that you've got money in the bank. But a lot of people think they need that in order to be able to relax, or to then be able to enjoy their life, right? Because without that, they feel threatened by life, that they won't have what they need. They won't have enough food. They won't be able to maintain shelter, etc., right? They won't be able to do other things that they want to do. So they want to have some sort of resource in the bank, right? There's stored up energy we call money in the bank in terms of, numbers on your statement. It's farcical, really, but we all play that game, or most of us play that game to some degree. But we don't have to. That's the point. We don't have to. That's the point. Yeah, money will come and money will go, and money generally likes to flow. So that all rhymed as well. I'm doing very well this morning with alliteration and now rhyme. But the point is, I think we're all being given the opportunity in this chaotic sort of reshuffling of society, right? The falling down of the old hierarchical control structures, which relied heavily on money, right? Money has been a great tool for those who control society, to control you and I. The idea that we don't have money, we don't have access to money, we need money, right? This idea of needing something that then forced us to go and do things that we didn't want to do, like go to work and do 8 hours or 10 hours for someone doing something that we weren't really passionate about because we wanted the money in order to feed our families or feed ourselves and maybe get the money up to do something that we really wanted to do, right? We've been trapped into this slave-like behavior of doing things we didn't want to do for this thing called money. So financial freedom is really about choosing to step out of that and start doing things that you want to do and trusting that the universe will provide you the resources. Now, when I say that, I have to caveat it and say, by and large, most people don't have the capacity to just completely step out and trust that food's going to arrive on their doorstep and they'll be okay. Because the program is quite intense and well ingrained. So it's not so easy just to repeat to myself, I don't believe in the money system anymore. I'm going to step out and do what I want to do. And then they find themselves hungry and homeless and think, well, Matt was full of shit. It didn't work. So don't do that, right? It has to happen more gradually. We have to build up evidence generally that this will work before we just sort of take a massive leap of faith and give up our jobs and stop trying to earn money and just think, well, the money's going to come to me because I'm being this energy. Most of us can't be that energy effectively enough. That's the point. Because we've been so long entrained in the system that it takes time to achieve our freedom. I can say it's just a choice, but it's a choice that you have to believe wholeheartedly, and that's not so easy to achieve, right? We have to be practical and pragmatic about this. It takes time. It's certainly taken time for me to slowly but surely etch my way into more and more financial freedom, and less contraction around, chasing money and having to go to work and then getting resentful that I'm doing a job that I don't like, etc. And then feeling that, this whole thing's bad. So I think freedom is a big one, and I think it's a big theme in the collective at the moment, freedom in general. And I do believe it is definitely worth investing our time in aligning with that. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Georgie, and it's making some sense. So it's definitely it's definitely worth investing time in reinforcing our choices around these themes or these big desires that we have, right? To be free. Fundamentally, we're sovereign beings. We know that, right? Fundamentally, we're a free sovereign being walking this plane in a human form, right? We're an individuation of God source universe, a sovereign, unique individuation of God source universe, having a human experience through a uniquely individual human personification, right? That's the truth, and we are sovereign. We are fundamentally free. Unfortunately, our unique human personification has been entrained, programmed, educated into a form of entrapment with this world and the society that we have grown up in and spent successive iterations, right, many lifetimes existing in this construct, in this matrix. So, as they say, habits die hard, and we can't expect just to sort of click our fingers and break out of that in one spontaneous move. It is going to take time, and it is going to take some dedication and devotion to the process of freeing ourselves and becoming more and more free. And that takes some degree of effort, right? It's not complicated. It just requires consistency. Consistently remembering what we are choosing without getting frustrated, without wanting it, without needing ourselves to be broken out of the matrix before we are happy. Because the truth is, we're going to break out, we're going to become much more free, much more quickly when we can choose to be happy right now in acceptance of the current situation that we're in, our external situation, as well as our internal programming and all of our foibles around this, the way that the trauma is influencing us and our doubts and our fears and our limitations. We have to accept all of that is completely okay. We're not trapped there. That's the point. It's like, in accepting that it's okay, it's not saying that, oh, I'm resigned to this being this way forever. It's that we don't need it to change in order for us to be happy, because we're going to choose to be happy right now. When we choose to be happy right now, we liberate ourselves, right? We basically empower ourselves from the hold over us that all of these limitations and restrictions have. Because we don't need to heal them anymore in order to be happy, because we're already happy. Now, once we're already happy, our energy field can expand, and we naturally heal or expand out of the influence that a lot of these things have had over us, right? So we have to put the horse before the cart, because horses do a shit job of pushing carts, right? It keeps jackknifing. It's just not effective, right? Horses pull carts. And the same, energy pulls the environment, not the other way around. The environment can't push the energy. It doesn't work very well. So trying to micromanage your environment so that everything is now good so that you can feel the energy of happiness doesn't work. Doesn't work. Lots of people who have all the money in the world, billionaires, still miserably unhappy, right? And full of insecurities and doubts and fears and lack mentality, right? Because the quantity of the money hasn't changed anything. Right? The situation they're in, having all of these assets around them, hasn't changed anything. That's the point, right? Get it the right way around. You be the energy, like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Be the being that is free. And then you will experience freedom around you, including financial freedom, including freedom from health conditions, including freedom to relate to people without your past woundings overly influencing your ability to relate in a what we might call healthy way, in a way that feels joyful and expansive. So that was a good little rant. Hopefully I've answered your question, Jen, and helped anyone else who listens to this. So yeah, the themes that are in the collective right now is, I think, healing quote unquote, which is basically freedom from being overly influenced by the traumas that we carry, without expecting the traumas or the pains or the wounds to completely disappear. They don't need to disappear. We don't need to, like, a lot of people think like peace is the absence of distraction. It's not, right? Yeah, of course, it's easy to feel peaceful when you're in a place where there's no distractions, but you haven't really achieved peace for yourself. You've just entered a peaceful environment, right? Which is great. There's nothing wrong with entering a peaceful environment, but to expect the environment to always be peaceful so that you always feel peaceful is delusional, right? Because that's too easy. Achieving peace is being able to feel peaceful despite the fact that there's distractions around you, despite the fact that there is prodding, triggers happening around you. So when you can maintain your peace in amongst the distractions of the world, in amongst the irritations, when you still maintain your peace, even though irritations are present, then you have achieved peace for yourself. Then you have freedom, right? Because now you know that you can be peaceful despite whatever might happen in the external world. Or if you lose your peace, you know that you can regain your peace without actually having to change what's happening around you, but with actually just adjusting your perspective, right? Adjusting your attitude towards the experience, right? This is freedom. This is empowerment. This is what we are encouraging. Sorry, all of my notifications are going off about a session I've got coming up in half an hour. So financial freedom is no different. All freedom is of this nature. It's not about achieving a certain external environment. It's about achieving a perspective towards your current environment and then allowing that to help the external world evolve to better match the energy that you're being, because we all know that the external world is a mirror of our internal energy. So as our internal energy changes, the external world will change too, or at least your perspective of the external world, your experience of the external world. It might not change for everyone, but it changes for you, and that's all that really counts, right? At the end of the day, we're all living in our own reality. That's the truth of it, right? Because we're all viewing this collective reality through our own filters, through our own eyes, ears, nose, senses, energetic senses, and through our own mental narrative of what we view, right? Three people can watch exactly the same situation unfold in front of them, view it, very cleanly through their eyes, obviously, and yet when they describe what happened to you, they'll all tell you different things that happened, right? Because they're all viewing it through their own perspective and their own narrative and their own way of understanding how the world goes, and they'll put a narrative on what we might call the facts, because that's what they saw. They saw that because their brain interpreted it in a way that meets their bias, right? We all see the world through a bias based on our overriding narrative. Is your overriding narrative that the world is a safe place that gives you opportunities to experience your divinity? Or are you of the bias, the perspective that the world is a dangerous place that's trying to kill you all of the time? Right? Because based on what you think, what you expect the world to give you, you will see evidence to back that narrative up, right? We're always looking to reaffirm our own bias, our own narrative, our own major stories and perspective on the world. And we can change that perspective, but it's not just about going, oh, right, I'm going to change my perspective, and then it's changed, right? There's neural pathways in your brain that take time to change, and you can't just expect you to write down a declaration and read it out to yourself and everything's changed. You have to be willing to do the work to reaffirm that. It's not difficult. It doesn't have to be onerous, right? Ideally, it's joyful, but it is going to require you to be consistent and dedicated and devoted to yourself. And why would you not be dedicated and devoted to yourself? You're an aspect of the divine. You are God incarnate. You should be devoted to yourself and to your happiness. I think that's where a lot of us fall down, because we've been deluded into thinking we're a poor, pitiful, useless bit of SH1T, and we just pick up the scraps rather than recognizing the truth of who we be and claiming a life that is fundamentally happy and purposeful. Anyway, my friends, that's enough of my tirade for this morning. Hopefully you found it useful. You can always write a comment in if you're watching this in replay or whatever, and ask for clarification with something, argue against something, ask for me to talk about something different next week, whatever, right? I'm very, very happy to be challenged and inspired to keep delivering something that's useful to you. And you, I'm talking to you, you are worthy of that, right? Don't think that, oh, your perspective isn't worth it, or people will laugh at you, right? If you're thinking it, other people are thinking it. Be willing to express it, right? Back yourself and ask for help, or ask for clarification, or argue the toss with what we're expressing. No worries, Jen, and everyone else. Much love. I will speak to you next week. I'll still be here in New Zealand, and we'll take it from there. Much love. Namaste. Bye for now.